Putting together a home theater can be daunting. There's a lot involved, and it's really easy to forget things or make a mistake in the build process. So in today's video, we're going to do our best to help you keep from making these mistakes, or just improve on your current setup right after the intro. Alright, so before we jump into it, I just want to mention that these are listed in no particular order. I feel that they're all very important on their own. But that being said, let's start at number 10. Purchasing speakers without auditioning them first. I'm a firm believer that you should never buy speakers before you actually listen to them. The biggest problem here is if you buy a pair of speakers and you don't like them, chances are you're stuck with them. That is, unless you buy from companies like SVS, Aperion Audio, and many others which offer in-home demo periods. These demo periods are usually risk-free, so if you get a pair of speakers and you're not happy with them, you can just send them straight back and they'll pay for shipping and everything. If you purchase speakers from a company that doesn't offer their own in-home demo period, I would recommend trying to find a dealer showroom that you can audition them in, or maybe you have a friend with the same speakers you're interested in. So basically, the main point I'm trying to get across here is you should never buy speakers before you hear them. Now on to number 9. Sitting too close to your surround sound speakers. Unless you have near field monitors, you're going to want to sit at least 3 feet away in order to get the best sound possible. Sitting too close to speakers could actually interfere with their phase alignment, and you could be blocking the sound to other listening positions in the room. And even worse, if you turn the volume up too loud, the massive amount of pressure could actually damage your hearing. Alright, at number 8, not installing a 20 amp circuit in your home theater. The big mistake here that a lot of people make is not actually having enough power for all the equipment they're trying to run in their theater. This even happened to us. It can cause lower sound quality, trip your circuit breakers, and a whole host of other issues. It's not hard to run a 20 amp circuit into your home theater. I actually did it myself and I made a video about it. You can check it out right up here after the video. But if you're not comfortable doing it yourself, I highly recommend hiring a licensed electrician. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. Number 7, not installing SMURF tubing to allow for future wiring upgrades in new construction. If you're not familiar with what SMURF tube actually is, it's basically non-metallic cable guide that stays permanently in your wall to help with future wiring upgrades. With SMURF tubing, you can actually run things like HDMI cables through it, and if you ever need to change them, you can just tape one end of the new wire to the other end of the old wire, and as you're pulling the old wire out, you're actually installing the new wire at the same time. This is a regret I hear all the time from people that have built their own home theaters and overlooked this very crucial step. So make sure you think ahead if you're planning on building a dedicated theater space. And on to number 6. Too many hard surfaces and not enough acoustic treatment. The last thing you want is to have a home theater with tile or hardwood floors, large bays of windows, or just a lot of reflective surfaces in general. This can wreak havoc on the quality of the sound, and it can literally turn your theater into a giant echo chamber. To keep this from happening, here's what we recommend. For the floor, I would just do wall-to-wall carpeting, or at the very least some large area rugs. Windows are a bit more of a challenge, but if you don't care if you can actually see out of them, you can cover them with insulation and hide them behind thick acoustic blackout material or just some heavy curtains. And as far as the walls, your best bet would be to get some acoustic panels. In our case, we decided to go one step further and build our own acoustic panel posters. These not only help dampen the sonic reflections in the room, they also double as movie posters, which I think really add to the decor of the room. If you're interested in seeing a video on how we built ours, we'll put a card right here so you can check it out right after this video. And now, number 5. Not building your seating riser tall enough. If you're planning on having multiple rows of seating in your home theater, you're going to need a riser. One thing you have to make sure you do is actually build a riser high enough for everyone to be able to see the screen over the front row of seats. Our suggestion here is if you're getting ready to build your own riser, make sure that it's at least 12 inches tall with one step that's half the height of the entire riser. Now of course, if you need even more height, you can adjust accordingly. The main point here is to build it high enough so you can see the screen and not the heads of the people sitting in front of you. On to number 4. Before you buy a new projector and screen, make sure you know exactly how much distance you have between them. There's nothing worse than buying a 150-inch screen and realizing after the fact the largest picture you can get out of your projector is only 140 inches. And that's because of something called throw distance. This is basically how far away your projector is from your screen, and it determines how big of an image you can get. This is different for every projector, and there are websites like Projector Central with throw distance calculators you can use to find the biggest screen you can get for your projector. In our case, we have the Panasonic AE 4000U projector, so we'll put it in here. Next, we'll put in the size of the screen, which is 120 inches, and lock it. Now the slider on the left will show you all the acceptable throw distances for your projector and how much you'll have to zoom in to get them. Our projector is currently at a throw distance of about 13 feet, and as you can see, 13 feet is an acceptable range with a zoom of 1.82 times. At number 3, we have the mistake of not planning for future upgrades. There's a saying in the home theater world that a home theater is never really finished, and what they really mean by that is it's a never-ending cycle of upgrades. You might think you're pretty happy with your 5.1 or 7.1 surround system right now, and that's completely fine. But then, later down the road, you might start thinking, man, I wish I would have just spent a little more and got that sweet Atmos receiver. But instead, you decided to try and save a little money on a receiver that you're going to be replacing a lot sooner than you expected. This is a scenario that plays out all the time. That's why we suggest planning ahead and getting as much of a system as you can afford right off the bat. This lends itself to another common saying, buy once, cry once. And on to number 2, not balancing your equipment. And what we mean by this is if you have, for example, $2,500 and you spend $2,000 on speakers, that only leaves $500 for your receiver, assuming you already have some kind of source. The $500 receiver will probably run all of your speakers. That is, until you start turning up the volume during an intense movie, where your speakers start demanding a lot of power. This could be a big issue if your receiver doesn't have the power and dynamic range to drive all of your speakers properly. Not only would the sound suffer, and probably your ears, but also this would likely lead to damaging your speakers by underpowering them. The fact is, it's just as easy to destroy a speaker by underpowering it as it is by overpowering it. This is why we always recommend dividing your budget evenly across every part of your system. And finally, at number 1, we have a 2-for-1. The first mistake here is using only one sub in your home theater. This is an easy trap to fall into because to get a good sub, you have to end up spending a lot of money. Most people try to get the best single subwoofer they can rather than considering how 2 cheaper subs could actually be a better value, and here's why. Dual subs offer a smoother frequency response with more accurate bass at more listening positions, and of course, more bass output. Another benefit of dual subs is it's much harder to tell where the bass is coming from. And the final mistake here is not properly EQing your subs. This is an absolute necessity because every room has a different sound signature, which can create standing waves, peaks, and nulls, and the only way to take care of them is with a proper EQ. So to sum this up, if you have, for example, $2,000 to spend on a subwoofer, we suggest buying 2 $1,000 subwoofers rather than throwing all of your money into one $2,000 subwoofer. Make sure you properly EQ your subs for the room, and you can thank us later by subscribing. Alright, so that's going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, have an awesome day.